You've tuned into Books, Business, and Beyond, the show that teaches you how to maximize your income from your book to create the lifestyle you want. Now here's your host, the best-selling author who loves sunsets and traveling around the world, Shelley Hitz, and her partner in success, Kristen Eckstein.
Welcome to another episode of the Books, Business, and Beyond podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Kristen. How are you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. And today we have an incredible topic. I really love this topic because this is something that has helped my business move forward in many different ways. And it's the power of collaboration. And we're going to be talking about how authors can use collaboration in their business in many different ways. And so we have several different things that we want to talk about today, but why don't we start with the obvious, Kristen, and just talk about collaborating with other authors in a book and actually writing together. And so, a lot of times people think of their colleagues or the people that are in their same genre, the authors in their genre, as competitors. However, we're going to talk about how you can actually be collaborators today. And one of those ways is actually working together on a book project. And I know we have both done that. And so maybe you can start with a few of your tips and I can share a few of mine as well with the experience that we've had.
Yeah, so many people are probably familiar with an anthology. And an anthology is where usually one head editor or author puts together a group of other authors' works into one book. And that is a collaborative book. Usually it's around the same kind of topic, or if it's fiction, it's sci-fi, same kind of genre. And that's one way that authors can collaborate together. Authors also co-author together. If you look at the Chicken Soup series, a lot of those books are co-authored and anthologies at the same time. So they've blended the two, where they have Mark Victor Hansen and Rick Frischman, and there's several others that have collaborated to put together those books. And then you have co-authored books where it's just two authors who are writing the book together, and they might alternate chapters, or they might actually sit down and physically write the book together. And so that's like one way that authors can easily collaborate with other authors. But I want to point out something super obvious that most people probably don't realize. Shelley and I are collaborating.
Exactly.
And this is something that we are in the same field. We reach the same people. We teach the same kind of stuff. We could very easily think of each other as competitors. But I want to open up your mind a little bit today to look at your competition in a different light. We could very easily say, oh, I'm not going to work with you, which actually had happened. I got kicked out of a Facebook group that was all for nonfiction writers because I dared to post a link to an article that I had written that was on my site.
Probably a helpful article too.
It was a helpful article. Thank you. And I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't selling anything in the article. I wasn't even selling anything in the sidebar of my site at that time. I still am not. And the person who owned the group came to me and chewed me out in a really big way several times and said that was strike number 2 for me. And if I ever did it again, I would be kicked out of the group. And I just wrote her back and I said, you know what? You clearly know nothing about competition versus collaboration. I never saw you as competition. What she did, I didn't do. I wasn't in that. I do a little more of that kind of stuff that she does now, with coaching. But at the time, I wasn't doing anything that she was doing. In fact, I was referring my people to go work with her, and several of my people hired her. And yet she still was adamant that I was competition. And so that really holds her back in her business, and it can hold you back in what you're capable of as an author and an expert. So I just want to start out with, like Shelley and I have banded together with this podcast, and you're going to see other stuff from us too. We're working on products together. We're going to have all sorts of cool things happening this year. And in fact, we're both part of a book marketing mastermind that was put together full of people who all teach book marketing. Who could definitely definitely be competitors. And we're talking about launching something later on this year as a group. So think of, if you ever look on Amazon and you're, researching your so-called competition, look at them with a different set of glasses. Put on your glasses of how can I work with this person? How can I use what they're doing that's awesome and adapt my own awesomeness to it and maybe do something together?
Yes, and I agree. With the book marketing mastermind that we're in, we are all definitely competing with the same audience. However, we also are developing like an alliance, we're developing those relationships, and there's nothing that can move you further than the relationships you build. And so, for instance, one of the people in that book marketing mastermind ended up promoting my challenge last time and was my top affiliate for that challenge. Had I not built the relationship through that mastermind, that probably would have never happened. And that ended up resulting in increased income and new clients for my business. And so, I think, it's definitely one of those things that some people just get really, isn't it like a scarcity mindset, wouldn't you say, Kristen?
Absolutely. I think it's scarcity and poverty hand in hand. And poverty mindset is simply the fear of not having enough. And that can drive people to want to hold onto things and want to hoard things. You know that show Hoarders on TV?
Yeah.
Have a poverty mind. They're living in a trailer and the trailer is floor to ceiling with bags of pens. I mean, that's a hoarder mentality, and that's a poverty mentality. And it really keeps us from opening ourselves up to our full potential. And like, once again, going back to the book marketing mastermind, we get together on a pretty regular basis. I mean, we try to have a call once a month where all of us that can make it live, show up live to the call, and we share ideas. We're totally open about, hey, this is what's working for me now. This is what I'm doing now. This is something I learned this past month that you guys might want to take advantage of. And we're sharing tools and strategies and tips back and forth totally freely, and we're holding nothing back. And I've already seen a difference. And I've seen a difference in your business, Shelley, and where you're going with it. I've seen a difference in what I've been able to do and the ideas I've come up with. And it's just really helped push each of us to a level we couldn't get to if we'd still continue to hoard our own talents and our own resources.
Exactly. And, when it comes to anthologies are basically collections of, writing from different authors. And when I published my first anthology, it was a collection of stories of forgiveness. And there was different stories from different people. And what happens is each of the authors will then help promote that book. And so you have this powerful army of promoters that are all interested. They all have a vested interest in the book. And so we're all promoting it. We're all driving traffic to it. And then we all have a different perspective. So my driving passion is to make a difference in this world. And so if it's just my story that's in that book, it's not going to make as big of a difference as if it's everyone's story that was, included. And so, there are so many benefits to collaborating with people. And one of the benefits of an anthology book is to combine the marketing efforts of everyone involved. And so, they're definitely, that's definitely something to consider with this pot. Oh, wow. That was really a lot of feedback. I'll edit it out. With this podcast, Kristen and I both have different strengths. And so we can, use my strengths and her strengths and come together, and we're able to produce something that is really valuable for authors. We're able to provide something that can not only elevate our own expertise, but also help a lot of people. And we can do this together, and that way we share the responsibility and we share, the time that it takes. And so, there are just so many benefits to collaborating.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we're actually looking at with our mastermind group is doing some sort of a summit, a telesummit, a webinar summit, something where we each teach something. So rather than just writing a chapter in a book, we're actually going to teach like an hour-long class and then combine all that together into one big event. So that's another way you can literally take an anthology book. If you're writing nonfiction, you can take the people in your anthology book and say, hey, how would you guys like to teach a class on your chapter? Let's level this, let's up level this one once more and reach a whole bunch more people. And so you can tell them to create an hour-long presentation about that particular chapter that they just wrote. I mean, most of the presentation's already written if the chapter's written. And if you're wondering about how to do, presentations and things like that, check out last week's episode. We had Felicia Slattery, the awesome speaking coach, on, and she gave us a bunch of tips about that. So you can actually take that chapter, make it into a class, combine all those classes together and publish it as one big event. And you can run it like it's a live event where you can have people, each of you promotes it to people that you know on social media and in your email list. If you have an email list, you can build your list with it because everyone who shows up is signing up for the whole thing. I mean, that's what we're doing with the mastermind. We're going to split the list and everybody's going to get a copy of it. So we're going to be growing our list that way. And I mean, that's actually one of the best ways to do list building is to collaborate on an event like that. And then, on the back end of that, we each are selling our own products. So we might have additional training based off of our presentation. So really, it's the same thing as writing a chapter. It's just repurposed in different ways to be able to reach an audience in different ways, like through video, through audio. And it's all done as a group rather than just you having to shoulder everything yourself.
Right. And it's, again, the promotional power of everyone promoting to their followers and their list. And so you get the power. I always think of that illustration of, a workhorse or, some sort of mule carrying a weight and doing it on its own or being yoked with another animal. And when they're yoked together with the other animal, they can pull more than double the weight that one could pull because they're working together. And I really believe that that's what happens when we work together with other people in projects, whether it's a book, whether it's an event. Another thing you can collaborate on is a group promotion. So you could all come together. You need to have someone that is the organizer, but you could all say, we're going to lower our book to 99 cents for these days and really promote it. And recently Brian Cohen did this and one of my books was featured and then everyone promoted it. And our book did so well. We sold hundreds of copies, but we also got connected with so many new authors, got new clients. And so it was just a really powerful thing, helped a lot of people. And yet we were working together and doing that promotion as a group. I've also organized several of them myself. It is a lot of work to organize, and you have to be pretty detail oriented, but it can be so powerful when you do something like that as well.
Exactly. It's absolutely one of the most powerful things that you can do is to collaborate with others. So how are we on time, Shelley? You're tracking this. I'm not.
We have about 7 more minutes, so we have a little bit more time that we can give some more practical tips.
Awesome. So there's all different ways you can collaborate with your competition, and some of them are not necessarily working as a partnership either. I mean, one of the ways that you can fill in, I call it filling in the gaps, is when you're writing your book, go research the people you would think would be your competition and research them with 2 things in mind. One thing would be their books and what they've already written about that you could fill in the gaps in between. And the way to check that is look at their reviews. If they've got a bunch of negative reviews or even a few negative reviews, see what the reviewers are complaining about and add that to your book so that you have now collaborated in filling in the gaps that other author left behind. You're going to have your own gaps, and that's fine. I mean, none of us can cover every single thing in our books, but that way you're also collaborating with them on that. And if the book has a lot of good reviews and it looks like a good book, buy it. Support those other authors. Buy it for research for your own book. I mean, I buy tons of books on writing, publishing, and marketing because that's what I'm writing about. And I want to see what other people are writing about on the same topic. So buy their books. And if what they have written is really good and you really like it and think that, this person could be someone that you might want to at least get to know and become friends with, much less possibly do something with down the line, then contact them. Tell them, hey, I'm writing a book for this, similar audience. I'm taking a slightly different approach to it than you did. I really do like your approach, and I would love to get to know you more and talk more about your book. Maybe you have a podcast you could interview them on. Maybe you could have them do a guest blog post for your blog. I mean, there's a ton of different ways that you can work together instead of fighting each other all the time.
Right. And, for me, there was someone recently that I was wanting to connect with. And, she's just on another level than I am. And I was just thinking, how can I connect with her? I really feel like we have, similarities and similar vision, mission, and business. And she's in a different field. But so I started commenting on her Facebook things. I wasn't a Facebook friend yet, but on the public posts that I could see, I started commenting. I started, occasionally commenting on her blog post. I purchased one of her products and I mentioned something about it on Twitter, and I tagged her on Twitter and she replied back. And so I started to get on her radar. I started to see. And I think, when you're wanting to work with someone, when you're wanting to collaborate with someone, you can just, you can even just gradually get on their radar. And then as you're on your radar, as you start interacting with them, then you can, start a little bit more. Like recently, I private messaged her on Facebook and asked her some questions, and she replied because I've been on her radar and I've been, doing things. But there's also sometimes a way you can annoy people. And I recently had someone that was posting on my Facebook stuff all the time, was getting off topic, was starting to dominate some of the comments on very important posts that I was posting, and it was actually starting to annoy me. And it takes a lot to annoy me because I just tend to get along with everyone. So you want to be careful. You want to start to work into a relationship with them without annoying them. And there's sometimes a tricky little balance with that. But I do recommend, starting to seek them out on Twitter, on their blog, on Facebook, start to interact with them and start to build a relationship. It's not just about contacting someone, say, hey, I want this from you, or I want to do this with you. Because honestly, I have people that do that with me all the time. And if I don't know them, if I don't have a relationship with them, if I've never heard of them before, and I look at their site and they're, it's not something that's, I'm just not really interested, I'll more than likely say no. However, if they've been interacting with me on social media, if they've been purchasing my products, if they have been a client of mine, if I've gotten to know them, I'm much more interested, And so there's there are different strategies even in how you approach people. I'm sure you've experienced this as well.
Oh my word, daily. I will tell you, if you friend me on Facebook and then immediately send me a private message telling me to go like your page or go check out your website, I will block you. I will remove you from my friends. I'm close to, I'm almost at 3,000 friends, and Facebook only lets you have 5,000. I don't have time to mess around with people who have zero etiquette and aren't interested in building a relationship first. Now, I will give you a really cool example, and this is kind of along the lines of collaboration. I recently lost my VA, who was handling a lot of my customer support. And when she told me she was going to quit, she basically gave me a 2-day notice.
Wow.
I convinced her to stay on for a month because I was like, you need to give me some time here. And so she did. She stayed on for the last month of 2014. And then when we started without her, I let my people know. I let my customers know that we were going to be a little behind on support tickets because we just lost one of our VAs. And for those of you who don't know what VA is, it's a virtual assistant. So someone who handles my support desk. And what ended up happening was I got a private message from someone who said, I saw what happened with your VA, and I just wanted to remind you that that's something that I do. And she had extensive experience already, but she'd taken a break off to have a couple kids, and now she's back. And she's working full time now. And she said she's only accepting a few select clients, and she loves me and would like to be considered, for the position, because she knew I had been paying a VA. Obviously, I probably have an opening, right? And so I contacted her back, and come to find out, I looked at her name and I'm going, I know this person. Not only do I know her because she's already one of my customers and has bought the very thing I need support with. So that right there is a plus.
That's a bonus.
Huge bonus. But she also was a friend of mine on Facebook for a long time, and we've already been interacting. We've been talking with each other. We've been liking each other's posts. You know, she'll like something about Legos that I post, you know, silly stuff. It doesn't have to be all businessy stuff. And so we'd already had a foundation of a relationship there that made me extremely comfortable to just say, okay, send me an invoice and I'll send you $300.
So you hired her.
It's that easy to be hired, but you have to do it from a relationship. And one more example of that, when I first started doing ebook conversion, which I don't do anymore, by the way, not for others, but I was doing it for a while. And I had someone contact me who was out of the country, and actually it was a guy from India. And normally I have a rule. I don't work with people who aren't stateside because I need to have the language barrier. I work in words in publishing, so we can't have a language barrier issue. And there was a tiny bit of that I worked through with him, but he approached me not as the typical, hey, I can make your website better, SEO, whatever, that you get a bunch of spam like that. No, he approached me and he said, hey, I love what you're doing. I especially like this article about ebook conversion on your blog. And I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate how you're helping authors out there, and, you know, continue doing what you're doing. It's great. I just wanted to send you a nice note. And then he had in his signature line his business name and his website, which I didn't really think anything of it. And then I'm looking closer at it later, and I wrote him back and I said, what exactly is it that you do? I see something about ebook programming. And then he wrote me back and he said, well, this is what I do. And, you know, I'm happy to help and maybe even do one for free just to work out, you know, how we would work together. I'm like, okay, you know, hiring someone for services for your book is also a form of collaboration. And so I did. I hired him for one of my books, you know, with the free one. He did a great job. He came back to me and we built a solid relationship, and he's been working for me for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great example. And, you know, as we're winding down this episode, I hope that you have gotten tons and tons of ideas how you can, you know, not just see other authors and other business owners as competition, but to see them as a way to collaborate together and to create even a more powerful strategy for your business. So we are so thankful that you've tuned in again. Again, this is Shelly Hitz, and I'm here with my co-host, Kristen, and we're signing off for another episode, and please join us next week.
You've been listening to Books, Business, and Beyond, the show that teaches you how to maximize your income from your book to create the lifestyle you want. Visit your host, international best-selling author Shelly Hitz, and her partner in success, Kristen, the Book Ninja Eckstein, at booksbusinessandbeyond.com, and grab your free gift today. Tune in next time for more ways to diversify your income beyond the book, and don't miss a single episode. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes.